Hey, I'm Gavin.
And I'm Johnny, and this is Behind the Beach Bars podcast.
We're the founders of the Beach Bars, a group of local bars here on the Sunshine Coast built with purpose and passion.
In this podcast, we're going to take you behind the scenes and tell you about our journey, our people, our partnerships, and how we run and operate this business.
It's for locals, for team, or for anyone who's curious into what goes on behind the scenes of building a business you believe in. Okay, so this episode is about where your money goes, and in particular, we reckon about 90% of every dollar that gets spent at a beach bar actually flows straight back out into the local Sunshine Coast community. This episode is about where your money goes and how we've intentionally designed this business to be not only about the Sunshine Coast, but to be for the Sunshine Coast in the way that we actually partner with local businesses, local suppliers, local charities, so that this business really is for the Sunshine Coast. So let me just explain that a little bit more from a financial perspective. If somebody comes into the business and buys like a $10 beer, for example, when I say 90% of that actually goes back into the Sunshine Coast, when you break down the economics of a purchase in a bar, there's a portion of it which is going for the food and drink that you've purchased. With our key suppliers, it's your mates for our beers, it's Tim Adams for our coffee, it's Marcus, local Sunshine Coast business, which is our small goods supplier, local fruit and veg suppliers. So the produce component, the food and drink of what you're purchasing, goes straight back into the Sunshine Coast. Then there's the wage element. And obviously all of our team, Sunshine Coast based team. And so our team costs represent about 40% of every transaction of the business. So again, that part of it goes straight back into the local community in the form of wages. Then there's like what comes underneath that. It's our rent, the location premises. We have 3 local landlords here on the Sunshine Coast. The owners of the businesses are 3 Sunshine Coast families. And then there's all the money that we invest or reinvest into just local charities and local support around the coast. And those, again, are local Sunshine Coast-based charities or organisations that we purposely want to support. For example, I'm talking about SunnyKids, I'm talking about the Sunshine Coast Lightning, local sporting clubs, board riders, those kind of things. And again, this is why it basically all stacks up that pretty much 90% of what you're spending in our venue is going straight back into the Sunshine Coast. That other small 10%, that's the stuff we can't help. That's the stuff that's going to the tax department or Telstra or the energy suppliers, whatever it might be. But that's actually a really tiny proportion of our business's expenses. Let's dive into some of those local partnerships and why we've intentionally chosen to use Sunshine Coast suppliers and providers for what it is that we do here on the coast. Okay, so let's talk about the beers from the beginning. So obviously a big part of coming to the beach bar is the beers on tap that we have on offer there. Tell me about our story of, working with one of the big international beer suppliers to begin with. That's what we inherited when we purchased the business, and going through that transitional journey to realizing we wanted to be independent from them and have our own free choice. So can you break down that journey for me?
Yeah. We had 4 taps originally, and 3 of them were a big beer company where you can only choose their brands.
I'm sure we can say it. It's CUB because it's like the one of 2 options. So,
and I think when you deal with those big, large companies, you're just a speck in the sand in terms of who they're actually dealing with and who you're up against. So, I mean, we could be moving 3-4 kegs a week. That's nothing. There's venues around Australia that are doing 20, 30 kegs a week, 40 kegs even. So we just didn't feel that we were seen by those companies.
I think you need to highlight, though, how lucrative or exciting they make it look to work with them. Because when you're working with those big beer providers, they'll pay for the beer taps, they'll pay for the cleaning.
Yeah.
They'll throw all these different incentives to you to be able to stick to those products. And when you're running a hospitality business, which is very low margin, those things are pretty exciting. It's like cheap beer, maintenance, they're installing equipment and stuff for you. You don't have to pay for it. The catch is, obviously, you have to only sell their products.
Yeah.
And they have a pretty big catalogue of products, but they're definitely the mainstream beers. You have to pick those ones if you want to be on their account.
Yeah, and then it probably until you start shopping around and seeing what the other guys are doing, it sort of highlights the fact you end up paying for it over the course of the term anyway, from the purchase of the kegs.
Yeah.
They definitely have this markup where they know that you're stuck with them, and they make their money back that way. So we ended up getting your mates in from day one. We got Larry on tap in the first week or 2 that we took over. And that just turned into a local top seller straight away. We've been with them ever since. So that was 8 years ago, 8 years. So Larry's been on tap the whole time. And then it was probably like 2 or 3 years in where we were like, we need to expand our taps. We want a bigger range. And that's when we paid, that's when CUB actually offered to do it for us. And we were like, no, putting this cost in ourselves, and we went to 8 beer taps then. And then we had a lot more variety. We were able to put a lot more local taps on. But we still stuck with CUB because there was this nervousness about dropping the likes of Great Northern, or I think we had 4X as well for a stint in time. But yeah, there was definitely a nervousness being like, are we going to lose the old Aussie drinkers if we get rid of Great Northern? So yeah, as it's evolved 8 years later, we've now just gone completely independent. We got rid of CUB, Lion, which just feels good. Like you're actually supporting local families, you know, that are set out starting their business and following their dream.
So there's been times where those bigger guys have circled around again and keep trying to luring us back with, you know, better deals and incentives and things to be able to come onto them. Why does our independence of them matter to you? Why do we value our free choice so much that we will pay for it in terms of the higher costs?
I think a lot of it just feels good, you know, that you're not locked into these sort of big companies. And I think a lot of the times they operate in a way that once they get you, you might get a few follow-up visits and feel like you're a sort of valued customer of theirs. But then you just drop off the radar because you're not one of their big players. And when you see them again is like a year or two. When you drop them, it's like, hey, what happened?
Yeah.
It's like, dude, I don't even know. They've gone through 4 reps since that stage.
I think also in regards to the beer taps, it's something we have a bit of personal passion about as well, in terms of we enjoy beer between all of us as the owners or the key managers within the group. And we like to have that ability of like, I'm actually loving this beer. I want to put this on tap right now. Or this beer is new and it's trending and people are, it's popular within this market.
Yeah.
Or say, for example, when we've gone to a new location and there's a local beer in that area that we want to put on tap as well. Like to be able to have that flexibility within our lines is really important for us just within our brand, that we're able to showcase good local products across the board.
And as well, it's like you're supporting the owners. Like for us, it's all about connection and partnership. And it goes a lot further if I actually believe in what they're doing as a company, but they're likable as a person as well. You know, you want to support them harder and firmer that way. Whereas when you deal with the big guys, I don't know who owns the big guys. Like I know, you know, Kirin and Asahi in Japan do. I've never quite met the guys running it.
You've not met Mr. Asahi
Yeah,
yet.
there's no personal touch. And I think that's what we're trying to build with our business is a personal touch with all our suppliers and partnerships.
So let's just like sort of go through some of those other key supplier relations we've had, like one at a time. So you touched on your mates there.
Yeah.
You guys obviously have a personal connection with Matt before we even opened the business before we purchased the business. So that helped.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about like your relationship with Matt over the course of 8 years in running this business.
Yeah, I mean, it's developed a lot further. Caitlin used to be still is really good friends with Matt's wife, Chantel. Met Matt through that, I guess. And she worked for Shane Hepburn for a long time as well, through Goodbean, Matt's brother. Yeah, as the relationships evolved, I guess I'm now getting invited to their golf days, which is nice. But they've also gone out of our 8 taps, 4 of them are now your mates. So they're brewing the Beach Bar Midi, and we've got their lager, their ginger beer, and Larry on tap now. But yeah, in terms of values alignment, it's so similar. It's what they're doing as a company for the Sunny Coast is very much in line with what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
So that makes that relationship a lot easier and believable, you know?
Yeah. So one of the other key supplier relationships, which we've had from day one, like before we even opened, it was a no-brainer of who we were going to lock in, was a coffee supplier with Tim.
Yeah.
And it's obviously been a long-standing relationship with you and Tim and Caitlin and Tim and even Matt and Tim for years before getting involved or starting the Beach Bar. Again, like, you know, tell me about the relationship with Tim and why Tim Adams and why we've stuck with Tim Adams and why that brand actually matters in the context of our brand.
Yeah. And there's a lot of roasteries out there to choose from now. Like I feel like the coffee scene exploded from, you know, the early 2000s onwards, as the beer scene did too. But with Tim, there's such a unique passion that he has with coffee, and you can see his eyes light up every time he talks about it. That's who we want to align with. And you see the same with Matt Hepburn and beer, and same sort of thing. But Tim, he just loves it. He has that direct relationship with the farmers where he goes over to, South America once a year, and he forms a really good partnership with these guys that's sustainable for both him and the farmers.
That kind of alignment, like I just love that about his product, which makes me love showcasing that as the product we have in store.
And that filters through to his staff as well. Like he's got a huge loyalty with all of his staff. A lot of them been there 5, 6, 7 years, like us as well.
Yeah.
And they offer a huge amount of support in terms of if we get a new barista to come in, we can send them out to Tim Adams Roastery and they'll send them through the training there. Because it is one thing about making a good coffee as a barista, but it's also making it the way that he's proud of too. It sort of gives you a little bit more confidence when those baristas are then coming back using your machine to make your coffee in-house at the beach bars.
I've got a long list here in front of me of other local suppliers that we use. There's Daniel Street Fish Market, Produce Partners, Mountain View Eggs, like the list goes on, which are all local Sunshine Coast providers. And that's if you're, eating, drinking within the beach bars, the food and drink you're buying is coming from local Sunshine Coast businesses. And again, like you've mentioned, these are the suppliers you've chosen because of values alignment or because they're owned by Sunshine Coast families who you connect with.
Yeah, there's a reason behind it all. And Steve from Produce Partners, he was the delivery driver when I was like 18, 19 at Mooloolaba. He was a delivery driver for Suncoast Fresh. And he worked with them for years, but about 2 or 3 years ago, he went out on his own, and that was our chance to support him because he's such a top guy. Also loves a round of golf, which is nice. And when he went out, we just jumped across straight away because we wanted to support him. And as he grows, we grow. As we grow, he grows. Like it's a really good relationship there.
Let's talk to like community partnerships, things that we're supporting in the community. And there's a couple of headline names here. Like there's lots of small-based charity things that we give money to, but in particular, there's a couple of bigger ones that people will know, which is around like SunnyKids, the Sunshine Coast Lightning, the Maroochydore Surf Club, Kings Beach Surf Club. Why these charities? Why these local partnerships?
SunnyKids to me is an absolute no-brainer. I think family is super important to all of us. To set the foundation right, they really help families that are broken or struggling. They offer the support when they need it the most.
Yeah.
So a charity like that it means a lot to get involved and behind them.
Yeah, for me, it's like when we go to those SunnyKids events and they actually give you some insight into their day-to-day going on and the things they're supporting people with. I know personally, like that's a very confronting scene. A lot of the times it's not something I have the skills to be able to do or dive in or help or like, and just makes me like incredibly grateful that there's those people there who are able to help and that we're actually able to help them in doing their job. So that's why it's a no-brainer and I love being able to support that charity.
Yeah, for sure.
Sunshine Coast Lighting for me is one that I'm pretty passionate about, which I think is a twofold. One, I obviously have daughters who play netball, so I'm getting into that scene and I like having these role models to look up to. But it's also the fact it's our only national team here on the Sunshine Coast. It's a competition that we get to compete in nationally and we punch above our weight in that place as well. We've been champions. We can beat the top teams. You go to those games, it's like a packed sellout crowd out there at the Sunshine Coast Uni. It's an absolute vibe, and I love getting behind the Sunshine Coast Lightning as a organisation that we can support with our business.
And it's a good night out too. Like we went there a month ago, 2 months ago.
Yeah,
the girls are elite.
Yeah.
Like they fly that ball around like it's nothing.
Yeah.
They're so skillful and it's such a good watch as well. It's entertaining.
Yeah, it's incredible. So some of the other things that we support here are like the board riders, SCF, the fisheries group, the surf clubs, is in there, the lifesaving crew there.
Yeah, the surf clubs is something, it means a lot to me. I was a nipper when I was 8, 9 years old.
You're a little nipper.
Yeah. I personally think every kid should be locked in for 1-2 years when they're growing up, especially on the coast. The beach is our life. And I think it's really important to be able to feel comfortable in the ocean and have respect for the ocean and understand it as best you can. So that's something that their programs are incredible. And so it's something that's really nice to get behind.
Yeah. That's great seeing. I love seeing the little nipper rashes getting around with the beach bars logos on them as well. Yeah. It's really nice to know we're supporting that crew as well. We're doing it. We're not a venue that has gaming. We don't have pokies rooms or kinos rooms. I know there's many other things on the coast, notably like the surf clubs, where when you look at their financials, they make so much money off the gaming and not from the rest of the business. And of course, they're able to invest that back into charities and support, but there's an element of that they need to, because they need to offset the social responsibility of how they got that money as gaming money. And so when I look at all the things, guilt money is another way of saying it. When I look at all the things that we're supporting it, like we're doing it out of our love. Like that could be our personal money, but instead we love the fact that this business gets to support this community we're a part of. And we're doing all these things out of our choice of wanting to make this business about the Sunshine Coast, but for the Sunshine Coast.
Yeah. And I think that comes down to a little bit of our values with legacy. We want to create a business that we're proud of, and one of the points in that is to be able to get the business into a successful point where you can actually give back. And we weren't in this position in the first 3, 4, 5 years, but now we are. It's a good feeling to actually give back to the places that matter, that have a personal touch with us, that resonate.
Okay, so just to reiterate, the key point here is that when you're going to the beach bars and enjoying the food and drink there, you should feel good about yourself because you're genuinely supporting local. Like 90% of every dollar spent is just flowing straight back out into the local community, into the Sunshine Coast, be it through local partnerships or charities or local wages. And that's something that personally I'm most proud of in this business we've created. Particularly if you look at the team journey as well, it's gone from 15 people to 100 teams strong. And you look at that's 100 people who we're supporting on the Sunshine Coast, be it their families or their own personal journey, but we're making a significant contribution to this place that we love now. And that's incredible as business owners, that's what we've been able to create and what we're doing. And you as someone who comes into the beach bars should also feel good about yourself because, like I said, it's not a $10 beer, it's a $9 investment in the local community.
Yeah, so this isn't charity, it's community. And I think we're all in it together.
So in the next episode, we're going to go behind the curtain. We're going to talk about how we run this thing, the planning, the coaching, and the things that we've learned along the way. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to share it with a friend.
And follow us on socials.